We're now going to look at another way in which threads could be applied on this particular project. I'm going to zoom out and pan north to where we have the roundabout. For this particular module, on this data set, we have pre-created 3 grading strings which represent islands on the project. To briefly review how these look, we're going to go up to the grading pull down and then click on Edit Grading, and then I'm going to left click on the grading string here and then click OK. So you can see here we've called this island 2, we've applied a curve template, and the target surface is total model. This particular island is not going to be draped onto the existing surface, it's draped onto the design surface. You can see I've got a very small spacing value there to take account of the fact we've got some very small radius values on the island. If I click on the vertical grading editor button, you'll see in the background the surface that you're seeing there is the target surface. This is total model. Earlier we made an adjustment to the surface, which means this is no longer matching. If we click on Auto Profile, there's an entry in there which we can edit. And you can see this is just simply saying through the whole chainage range, match onto the total model surface. So each one of the 3 grading strings has this particular setup assigned to it. Just going to close down the grading form and the vertical grading editor. If the vertical design of existing row crown was to change, the roundabout will need to be updated. The surface itself will then update, and then we need the islands to also be updated. So there's quite a bit of work there that would be required to have everything updated to coincide with that design change. What we're going to do first of all is make an adjustment to the vertical design of existing row crown, then set up a thread to go ahead and update the design for us. So I'm going to open up the vertical grading editor for existing row crown. And I'm going to zoom in really towards the end because this is where the roundabout is located. We have a single IP that is found at chainage 392, and I'm actually going to remove that from the design. Now, as a consequence, the roundabout will no longer be properly draped onto total model, and the islands will also need to be updated. So I'm going to click on the Delete IP button and left click close to the IP. Once I've done that, I've got to be careful to note that the routine is still running down the bottom of the form, so I'm going to press Escape to stop the Delete IP command from continuing. So total model has now updated. However, the roundabout and the islands also need to be updated. So we're going to set up a thread to make sure that if we make changes to existing row crown in the future, they'll all be updated for us. Going to close down the vertical grading editor. We're going to go to the Roads tab Workflow panel and click on the Thread Editor pull down and click on Thread Editor. So the first thing we're going to do is to create a new thread. So we're going to click on the little plus icon on the top right hand corner and we're going to give it the following name. Once you've done that, click OK. So the first thing we're going to do is to add an action from the left hand side. So if we go and make a change to the vertical geometry, really we want total model to be updated first of all, because everything else references total model. So we're going to go over to the left hand side, find Model Computations and click on Compute Design Model, click on Add Action. Then we're going to choose Total Model from the list and click on Add Action. Once we've done that, really what we want to happen next is for the roundabout surface to also be updated. So we're going to go back to Model Computations and then Compute Roundabout. Click on Add Action, and we've got the single roundabout in the project, so this is nice and simple. We're going to check that and click on Add Action. Once the roundabout has been updated, we then want the vertical design of all of our islands to then be re-referenced back onto total model. So to do this, we're going to click on Compute Vertical Geometry, click on Add Action, and you'll see they're probably towards the bottom of the list. We're going to check all 3 and click on Add Action. What we didn't do there was to make sure that those entries went to the very bottom of the list. So they actually got added after the first entry. So what I'm going to do is to make sure that this roundabout entry gets placed second in the list. And that is our thread complete. I'm now going to click on Compute Thread. The thread will have finished, and we're going to move the drawing environment over to one side. So I'm going to open up the vertical grading for one of the grading strings. Click OK. And you can see we're now matching onto the surface. So anytime we now make a change to existing road crown, I can have the roundabout and then the islands all updated to suit. Going to click on Close to close the thread editor.